Hey, Chris again. Just wanted to thank you for taking the time and clicking over and listening to this next free interview. Today, I'm joined by Mark Shepard, author of the book Restoration Agriculture. Mark uses a unique approach in his business. He's essentially using ecologically responsible farming techniques and practices to produce food and sell it on the wholesale market, which basically means he's combining industrial and regenerative agriculture for his own unique business model. Again, I hope you'll enjoy this interview and keep an eye on your email inbox as I have two more great interviews headed your way. All right, welcome to the Agricultural Insights Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Chris Stelzer, and today we're joined by Mark Shepard, author of the book Restoration Agriculture. And he's from Southwest Wisconsin, and he's basically a permaculture practitioner over there in Wisconsin. Welcome to the show, Mark.
Hi there.
Well, Mark, just so people get a better understanding of who you are and what you do, can you just give us an overview of what you do up there in Southwest Wisconsin?
Well, I suppose it all started a long, long time ago. My original training was in mechanical engineering. I got a job, right out of college. Stayed with it for about a year and a half. I really didn't like it all that much, so I quit my job, went back to school to study ecology. Then when I graduated, it was basically during a time in history where I think that they were executing ecologists. There was no employment opportunities for ecologists. So my desire was to live out on the land, be self-reliant and all that kind of stuff. And so I took my sweetheart up to Alaska and homesteaded for a whole bunch of years. And while I was up there, was experimenting heavily with how do we, as human beings, live on the planet and not destroy it in the meantime? And isn't it possible to fit in with the ecology around us and be an active, beneficial participant in it? So I started tinkering with different ways of imitating the biome up in Alaska, and started writing some notes with the intention of writing a book. I took the outline to a friend, and he said, "Oh, that's permaculture." So I dove into permaculture at the time, became certified, and started teaching classes and workshops, here and there on permaculture design, and eventually ran into the repeated phrase over and over again. Permaculturists were saying that, with permaculture we don't need farms because we'll grow all of our food in our own front yard. And yet every single one of them would sit down to meals of rice and beans or noodles and bread. And all of those come from annual plant grains and beans that are grown on hundreds of millions of acres of annual agricultural land. And ecologically, that's been devastating to the planet. The soil erosion, loss of wildlife habitat, massive release of carbon into the atmosphere from annual agriculture. And so I proposed at a permaculture design course that we establish a farm based on imitating ecosystems with the intention of growing the bulk staple carbohydrates, proteins, and oils instead of from annual plants like corn and beans, from perennial plants. And that led to 3 different families pooling their resources together to purchase 100 acres in southwest Wisconsin, where for the past 18 years we have been imitating the oak savanna biome and the northern hardwoods biome, and managing it as a farm and selling crops all along the way and paying our way.
Okay, fantastic. So in the hardwood biome, what do you guys? What's the purpose of that biome primarily?
Well, what's the purpose of it? It exists here on planet Earth. So no matter where you live, look at the plants and the animal species that are all around you, and look at that biome and pick out the keystone species, the ones that are like the defining species in that biome, and then replace them with economically productive crops. Like in the oak savanna, for example, in order of height from tallest down to shortest, you would have the fagaceae, which were oak, chestnut, or beech. Then as an understory would be prunus cherries or malus apples. Shrub layer were wild plum, which is also prunus or hazelnut. There were cane fruits, blackberries and raspberries. Grapes climbing all over the whole mess. Fungus decomposing all of the biomass, various different kinds of fungus. Gooseberries and currants in the shade, and then the green grass grew all around, and then animals grazing on those grasses, and not just one type of animal, but multiple species of animals. Every biome had and has a suite of plants and animals that belong there, that have thrived effortlessly there for millennia. And all we need to do is look at those systems and imitate them, and then do the breeding work to select for more productive pest and disease-resistant cultivars.
Okay. So, how often will you have, well, I guess my first question to you should be, what kind of animals do you have within that biome grazing or living and eating, if you will?
Right. We have cattle, pigs, sheep, chickens, both meat birds and egg birds, and ducks.
Fantastic. And how often, I mean, have you found like, I'm not a big fan of like systematizing and saying, your cattle need to be in this paddock for this many days, or the chickens need to be in here for this many days. But have you found like a rotation that works for you with all of those different animals? Maybe the cattle go in first and then another species. Have you found anything like that works for you there?
I think what we've been trying to think of, wouldn't it be nice if it was just regular, you do A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and it was simple.
Sure.
What we're discovering over time is that it has a lot to do with, like, how the prairies and savannas were managed by wildlife through the eons, is the fact that it's somewhat kind of totally random, but it all depends on the forage quality. When this grass is ready for it here, we send in the cattle first, and we try to mob stock. You keep the animals closer together, and so they probably trample as much as they actually eat. And then we'll follow behind them, generally with pigs. And then the sheep will tend, we don't move them around as fast because we put them in the areas that are experiencing a lot of brushy regrowth of undesirable plants, and we use them to hammer a place pretty heavy. And the chickens, they just go wherever they want. We have these portable cages that, pens, houses that we move along, but they're for all practical purposes feral chickens.
Yeah. Okay. They just kind of go into their coop at night, essentially.
Yep. Yeah, and their coop, we always surround their coop with electric netting. It doesn't keep the chickens in or out, but it does keep the predators out at night.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's fantastic. I like that idea of just letting the chickens go wherever they want.
And what's interesting on tour is people say, well, don't you have a predation problem? It's like, well, not with the survivors.
Not with the smart ones.
They get really, really smart in a hurry. That's right, or they're gone.
Yeah. Well,
so at first, in the first part of the year, the losses are they just a bunch of them start disappearing. Well, then they get smart.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure. So I guess you sort of defined what restoration agriculture is in your introduction. Do you want to touch on that a little bit more? Is restoration agriculture something that you define easily, or?
Yeah, I kind of coined the term because what we're doing, I came from the perspective and the background of permaculture design, but also being trained as an ecologist. Much of the work that ecologists are doing is ecological restoration, which has ended up being like a very expensive way to hold a piece of planet in a static picture of what we think that it should have been, 150, 200 years ago. Mm-hmm. And it's all expense to maintain this complex, ecological system. Well, so how do we accomplish ecological restoration, which this planet desperately needs? Restore the hydrology, the soil hydrology, corridors for wildlife, habitat for wildlife, all that kind of stuff. How do we get ecological restoration? But we also need to eat. We simultaneously need agriculture. We need broad-scale staple food crops agriculture. So restoration agriculture is that we're doing both at the same time because we are imitating the actual biome that belongs in a place, whether you're down in Florida or up in Pacific Northwest or here in the Midwest. We're imitating the biome that was there. but we're substituting some naturally bred, genetically superior species for the wild variant. For example, the apple that existed on this continent before Europeans got here was a wild, prairie crab was in the Midwest, other different kinds of crab apples all over the place. Well, yes, it was a food source for the Native Americans that were here first, but it's not as significant a producer as some of the, improved varieties that have been bred through time. And so we're using, domesticated apple instead of like at the Fagaceae layer, oaks, chestnut, and beech. Well, beech doesn't grow really well around here. Oak doesn't produce nuts every single year. Well, chestnuts produce a heavy crop every single year of a corn equivalent, nutritionally almost equivalent to corn. So that's kind of how we're getting the agriculture part out of it. Plus, if you start with a cornfield and you're going to convert to restoration agriculture, what you're doing now is you're going to manage your land through succession. And so in the early years, you'll actually be growing annual agricultural crops in between the rows of your trees as your trees mature.
Sure.
So was that a simple definition, or did I successfully avoid answering the question?
No, it was fine. I mean, it's just good that you brought up the point that it is possible to acknowledge that we do have a problem, yes, but at the same time, agriculture is part of the solution because, as you said, we need that broad-scale production so we can feed people.
Right.
And that's kind of an idealist thing that a lot of an idealist idea a lot of permaculturalists hold, that, we'll just grow all our food in the front yard or backyard, which could be a great supplement, but realistically, I'm not sure if it's too possible.
Well, and everyone, from my perspective, every residence should be growing as many of its as much of its produce as it possibly can, and fruits and berries, because what that is that's the high concentrated vitamins and minerals. You can't get, more nutrient dense food than you can from vitamins and minerals. However, if you were to just eat your vegetable garden, you will starve to death. We need the proteins, carbohydrates, and oils, found in the staple that are currently staple grains and legumes, and or animal products.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, my immediate challenge to any permaculturist who even dares to claim that, we can grow all of our food in our front yard, is okay, you stop eating right now. Unless you've grown it in your front yard, you stop eating. You want to go local? Your yard. And not many of them will last long.
Yeah, for sure. I think growing food in front and backyards is a great supplementation for sure, but we do need that broad spectrum and maybe the high quality grass-fed meats that we need for our protein sources as well.
And so if we're going to have that broad-scale agriculture, and we do have broad-scale agriculture right now, if we're going to do that, we might as well do it in ecological systems that are perennial, that last forever, that yield comparable nutrients, and are easier to maintain, lower cost to maintain, and they're performing ecosystem services.
Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. Now, how would this compare to conventional agriculture? I guess, maybe walk us through a day in your shoes, Mark, and then I think we all know what a conventional agriculture farmer might do all day, and that's sit in a tractor and destroy the ground, et cetera, et cetera.
Wow. What might I do on a typical day? I don't know if there is one. Basically, I don't know if there is one. It's we do supplementally feed our livestock organically grown grains that would have been annual grains. I also feed them hazelnuts and chestnuts. We're in an area with lots of organic farmers, so all my feed comes from next door neighbors. When I have a little pig, for example, a little pig only needs about a cup and a half of grain to keep it alive. Well, I never increase their ration. They have to forage from the system in order to gain weight, and they get hungry. They do gain weight. So what I'll do is I'll go out in the morning, and I use the grain as bait, so they'll all come to a whistle, and all the livestock has a different whistle. You call for them, and they come running because they know they're going to get a snack. And that's really useful later on when I load them on the truck, because you just whistle them onto the truck, and they know they're going to get a snack, and they load right up on the trailer. And there's no need for squeeze chutes and cattle prods and all that kind of stuff. So I'll get up and I'll make sure everybody's got feed and water, that no fences are down. We use a lot of portable electric fence. And then during the middle of the summer, like right now, I'm really basically not doing much at all because I don't really have to. I mean, all my plants are growing. Pretty soon, we're coming up into berry season. The currants are starting to get ripe. We'll start picking that. Mulberries are going to be starting to get ripe pretty soon. And all of our fruits basically are designated to be squished and fermented. And we make hard apple cider as the base alcohol, and then we top flavor it with various different fruits.
Oh, that's awesome.
So summertime is when we go on vacation. I'm going to be going on vacation pretty soon.
Yeah.
There's nothing going on. Well, then we start in the fall. We are real busy. Like middle of August is when hazelnuts start being ripe, and then we're out picking hazelnuts all day. And apples start getting ripe. We're picking all day. By middle of September, chestnuts start. And we're picking chestnuts. And when it's harvest season, it's like any other farmer. We're working 29 hours a day, 9 days a week, kind of thing.
Yeah, sure.
We're used.
That's pretty cool. So, do you legally sell your apple cider, or is that just kind of for you guys?
No, we are Shepard's Hard Cider.
Okay, that's awesome.
One of the things that we've also done, which is somewhat backwards compared to most modern recommendations and most things that quote unquote folks in the alternative or renewable sustainable movement are suggesting, is we are not niche market direct marketing retail to customers and charging them way too much money. Because what happens when you try to do that, the volume of product that you'll actually be able to move is small, and the transportation costs of getting it anywhere are going to be huge. Well, we're really 4 hours from the nearest real market, and that's either Chicago or Minneapolis. And so everything that we sell, are the keel of the ship, so to speak, is all done bulk, wholesale, and through distributors. And so all of our cider, like 99.999% of our cider is sold to a distributor, at barely starvation wages for us. Same with our produce. We're sending stuff out in pallet quantities, not like nickel basket quantities.
Yeah. So I guess, given your distance, you found that makes the best. That's the best decision for you guys to make money, is to do it the wholesale way.
Well, we also do retail things. Yes, distance is part of it. Closer to a larger market that you are, the more retail you can do. But you just look around you, all of this wonderful stuff that's being said about value added and agritourism and all this kind of stuff. There aren't a lot of farmers making a whole pile of money, especially the ones that are trying the value added and the niche market side of things. Because you're not getting the total volume of dollars that you need in order to pay your bills. And so closer to town, you can get away with less wholesale. But I recommend to anybody who wants to get into farming, set up your whole business and your numbers, design it around wholesale sales. If you can make that work, well, then any retail that you do is gravy. Don't try to get into it retail top end only, because it's show me somebody where it's really working. Show me somebody.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I've never really thought of it that way. If you can make it wholesale, all your retail stuff is like some vacation money or something like that. So that's
right.
Great.
And also, if we're going to be setting up an example for agriculture, if we were niche market retailing stuff at $15 million a pound, the big boy farmers who actually load grains into humongous semi-trailers and then put them on barges and ship it downriver, that's what I'm talking about with scale. Agriculture scale permaculture, where we have semi-trucks. Seriously, we have semi-trucks come up to the farm and we load them full of stuff and get it out of here. That's agriculture. Bringing stuff to farmers market and standing on the street corner, it's a social shopping event.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I think obviously the majority of our food does come from that large bulk agriculture system that you just described. I'd be interested to know how much local food is responsible for the entire makeup of the food that we consume here in the United States. That'd be an interesting fact. But I wanted to ask you, what's your vision for restoration agriculture long term? I mean, it sounds like you've set up this great example. It works. You're successful doing this. So what's your vision long term?
Well, I vision long term. Long term really only has to be 15 years. I know it's not going to happen in 15 years, but it's entirely possible to restore the ecology of every single biome on planet Earth in 15 years. It's only taken 15 years for us to get to the stage right here. If one crazy crackpot can do it in 15 years, what if we had 100 million, 2 billion crazy crackpots doing it? 15 years, this planet would be a different place. So that's the grand vision, is just totally restoring the ecological balance to the planet while providing for our foods and fuels and medicines and fibers and all of that. How we get there, shorter term, there are examples of restoration ag projects that are now going on everywhere from the desert Southwest biomes. There's a couple going on in California. I don't know anybody in Pacific Northwest yet. We got the New England states, the Midwest, quite a few, and down in the Southeast, not quite down to Florida yet. So it's being done on a broader scale, and it's starting to be researched by several different universities. There's actually a couple of colleges that are teaching it as a curriculum.
That's fantastic. Very cool. Now, I wanted to ask you, what do you think we can do to bring this to the mainstream? And you sort of answered that question. It seems like some universities are picking it up, but I'm sure that was a huge motivation for you to write your book, is to get this information out to more people. So what are some other ways that you're working on getting these ideas into the mainstream audience?
That is one way. Well, the other way is by producing actual products that go out into the marketplace. All of a sudden, you have a product, the apple cider right now. Guess what my biggest problem is right now? There aren't enough people growing apples in this area to supply the demand of the market. Most hard cider that you buy at the store is actually from concentrate purchased from China and South Africa and stuff like that. So what if we actually start selling products that are made out of ingredients produced this way? And so if we set up successful businesses that are marketing all of the different products in our biome, that's the best way to success. Is financial success. We have a product, we can do advertising, we have a story to tell, buy our stuff. The more you buy, the more we have to grow this way. The more we grow this way, the more other people are going to look around and say, wait a minute, why is it that all these farmers around here, this is the case right around here, these farmers are struggling and suffering, and one by one they're dropping like flies, and then they're getting gobbled up by the neighbors who are biggering and biggering. Well, how is it that we're not doing that, and yet we're still growing and expanding? Isn't that fascinating? So when you show an example, when you succeed, that's the best advertising you can get.
Yeah.
People can't drive by this farm and not notice that there's something radically different going on.
Oh, for sure. I bet. Yeah. But isn't that strategy, Mark? Isn't that different than, the bulk strategy of the semi trucks coming in and you're just fill up the semi truck with chestnuts, let's say? Isn't that radically different from, that niche product that you have of the hard cider?
Well, the hard cider is going out through a distributor. That's one of the semis that shows up. We load a semi full of pallets when it.
I see. So it's like wholesale niche marketing, maybe.
No, not really. Go to the store. Look at you'll see woodchuck cider. That's not a niche market at all. It's the fastest growing alcohol category there is right now. It's a booming category. It's going to do the thing that microbrews have done. You just watch.
Yeah.
But anyways, let's go like with the chestnuts. Here comes the semi comes. We load it up full of chestnuts. Well, one of the things that we can do as growers who are growing this way is band together and form some sort of collaborative enterprise where we're making the products. Our company is making the products. We're just owners of the company. And the example that I get to use over and over again is Organic Valley. Most people are familiar with Organic Valley for their dairy products, but it's a multiple different products cooperative. I was grower number 24 at Organic Valley. It's the largest organic products cooperative on the planet, and it's over $1 billion in sales this year. It's big business. So that's agriculture. Well, now let's do that with restoration ag products. Move out our first product out the door happens to be the hard apple cider.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Thanks for clarifying that.
One of the things that I like to use as a beautiful example is if we're going to change the way agriculture happens, Should we do it with education and training people to change and eat differently and buy local and all that kind of stuff, or should we just replace the ingredients that are currently in the food they're eating with other ingredients? And my favorite example that a lot of people hate is Cheetos. You can make Cheetos out of chestnuts. I've actually had a company that made these crunchy, Cheetos products out of chestnuts. So some kid in inner city Chicago going down the street with a soda bottle and a bag of Cheetos is not going to change his behavior at all. But if his sweetener comes from high fructose chestnut syrup, and if the flour in his Cheetos comes from chestnut flour or hazelnut flour, the ingredient in that product was produced in a different way, and therefore it has a real ecological result on the planet. We never had to change that kid's behavior. He never had to learn anything or go out of his way. He's going to eat Cheetos and soda pop anyways. Let's give him Cheetos and soda pop that was grown in an ecological system instead of, the bare black dirt corn deserts that go forever.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that abbreviated interview with Mark Shepard. Mark's ability to work within the current agricultural system using ecologically responsible farming practices never ceases to amaze me. Hey, it's Chris Stelzer from Agricultural Insights, and I wanted to let you know about a very special membership program that we have over at Agricultural Insights. It's called the Agricultural Insights Premium Membership. And inside that membership, you get 4 interviews done with the world's most innovative farmers and ranchers sent to your email every single month. But that's not all. Best of all, I'm going to be including 3 bonuses with your Agricultural Insights Premium membership. The first bonus is my mob grazing ebook. Well, you'll learn all there is to know about mob grazing and increasing your forage growth, profits, and production from your grazing management with this book. The second bonus I'm going to be including is my sneak peek inside my Grazing Mastery program. And as you already know, the Grazing Mastery program, in my opinion, is the world's best online grazing management training. So you're going to get a sneak peek into that for free. And finally, bonus number 3 is my famous number crunching spreadsheet. So this will show you how to plan for profit first before you do anything else in your business. And you'll also have access to this spreadsheet 24/7, 365 days a year, and you can even save it to your computer. And all of these bonuses are $500 or more in value. And that's not all. The best thing about signing up for the Agricultural Insights Premium membership today is I'm giving you a 7-day trial for only $1. That's right. I'm so confident that you're going to love the Agricultural Insights Premium membership that I want you to sign up and just put down $1. If you don't like it, you can cancel within that 7-day period, and there's no hard feelings. But I know you're going to love the world-class interviews that we send you every single month with the Agricultural Insights Premium membership program. And to this date, we've done over 150 of those interviews. So you're going to get access to 4 of those interviews every single month, plus the bonuses I just mentioned, and even some special bonus trainings once you get inside of our membership program. So do the right thing. Sign up for the Agricultural Insights Premium membership program today by clicking on the link in the email that I just sent you, or going to the link that you see on your screen. That's all for me, and I hope to see you on the other side of our premium membership program. Take care. Bye.